Oh, patch 11.5 has been revealed. What's up, GameLeap? It's Coach Jizz is back again with another red hot upload, and if you want to know what Riot has in store for the 11.5 patch, which is just over a week away, then this video is all you need. I'm going to be breaking down in detail all of the champion buffs, the champion nerfs, the item buffs, the item nerfs, how these will affect the meta, and whether it will be worth playing these champions in the near future. Now, there are so many changes here, guys, so as we go through them, I want you to tell me which change you are most excited about in the comments. Now, to master any of the champions on this list, or to just reach your max potential on the Rift, please do yourself a favor and check out our amazing website. Our exclusive fresh challenger level content is unmatched. Links as always in the description and comment section. Alright, let's get into it. And the first champion nerf we have to talk about is the one coming to Senna, and also the nerf to Ginsu's Rage Blade, and these two, Senna and Ginsu's, will probably go down in League history as one of the most broken champion item combos ever. If you've tried this out this patch or have played against it, yes, it's very hard if not impossible to counter. So what these nerfs mean are essentially this. On-hit Senna will be less effective, and this is what's behind Senna's rapid increase in play rate and abuse rate recently. So with Kraken Slayer and Ginsu's, the on-hit damage is through the roof, and though this will still be a somewhat strong 2-item spike in 11.5, it will be nowhere near as oppressive as it is right now. The issue here though is that Senna is a scaling champion, so the more passive stacks and items you buy, the stronger you become, but critical strike cap and less on-hit damage take away some of this late game power. This, as a result, brings Infinity Edge Senna back into play, or maybe you just build a Rage Knife and sell this for IE later. You'll have to let me know what you're thinking in the comments. Now in 11.4, guys, Riot deleted a champion. They nerfed her that much that her win rate dropped by over 3%, and she's gone from being a top tier AD carry to being the worst. Well, thankfully for Samira, she is getting a couple of buffs because she was, and I quote, a bit over nerfed. Oh, you don't say, Rito? The unfortunate news though is that these buffs, guys, won't change anything. Your AD per level is higher and your Q will be stronger later in a game, but you still can't dash through your teammates or minions, so who cares about anything else? This makes you so vulnerable that no amount of damage can compensate for it. So I'm sorry to say, guys, that Samira will continue to be trash in 11.5. Right now, I know all of you love it when this particular champion gets buffed. I'm joking, I think most of us freak out, and Master Yi in 11.5, well, he's getting a buff, which is increasing his ease on hit damage. Now, honestly, after playing against Dustblade Master Yi a few times, it's not fun, and that's probably why I can't sleep at the moment, so giving the Wuju Bladesman extra on-hit means that Kraken Slayer and Bork, you know, these on-hit items, are more viable, and you never know, maybe Ginsu's Yi will be the go-to again. Okay, let's head to the top lane next, guys, and talk about 3 massive item changes and buffs that are going to make a few champions beyond busted, and that's if they weren't already. So more of Malmortius is costing 300 less gold, which is a significant amount, so if you need a bit of anti-burst magic resist and AD at the same time, this is great. Now here's where the fun starts. If you play Darius or Garen, you are going to love this. Stridebreaker's dash range is increasing. Now the slow may be weaker, same with the damage, but the fact you can gap close closer to your opponents is nuts. And it's not like it's increasing by 10 range, it's increasing by 50%. So if an enemy AD carry or squishy is even on your screen and you just run at them, they have no choice but to run away, well, or die. Now another item buff that Darius players in particular are going to love is the one coming to Black Cleaver. And if the utility and Stridebreaker wasn't enough, we are now getting movement speed from the BC. So what I'm saying here, guys, is that a ghosting Darius will be the scariest side in 11.5. It's also 200 gold cheaper and offers more health, so there will be no stopping Darius and other bruisers like Urgot and even Stridebreaker Fiora next patch. Now a couple of top lane champions are getting buffed and nerfed this patch, and this first one who is receiving a buff, guys, is going to be groundbreaking. Like seriously, after this, Jax is going to be pick ban. Guys, unfortunately I was joking, and as you can see, this buff is the equivalent of getting 1.5 longswords at level 18, which is, yeah, just pin. Unfortunately, most games are decided by then, and even if your team isn't already trolling by that point, the enemy Camille will still take half of your HP with 1 Q. Now, the top lane champion nerf that's coming is to Gragas, and your Q is going to cost 80 mana at all ranks. Now, this Rotund Ginger is very flexible. You can play him top, you can play him jungle, mid, support, and this nerf hits every which way you play Gragas, but it's certainly not the end of the world. You're going to have to manage your mana pool and throw your barrel out with a little more caution, knowing you might go but you'll still be sweet. Now, let's head to that mid lane, guys, and talk about 2 champions copping a buff and nerf in 11.5. Oh, and before we do, let the Jizz and Co know you're enjoying the video by smashing that like button, and any of the changes, again, tell me what you're thinking of breaking in the comments. Okay, so let's start on the positive side of things. Riot are buffing Qiyana, and there's also one big item buff we'll get into that's going to benefit not just Qiyana, but every AD assassin. So yeah, your W's on hit damage is increasing at later ranks, as is its movement speed, and your ultimate is stronger at later ranks too. Now this sounds insane, and the reason it is scaling. The thing is, guys, these lethality based champions are overall strong in the early to mid game, you know, until the enemy team starts armor stacking, and then they begin to fall off. Well, for Qiyana in 11.5, there will be no drop off in performance, and even if you do have a bit of an upsetting early game, all good. Your scaling gives you hope of getting back in any game and carrying later on. Now, the huge item buff that's going to help Qiyana even more is one to a lethality item that is especially effective in this meta, because I swear everyone has a shield, even the minions, and that's Serpent's Fang, of course. So what's going to happen is that you're going to reduce the strength of incoming shields when you damage that target, or you just weaken the shields that are already on them, and this is super OP. So if you think of Bloodthirster's shield, Echo's shield, Yone's shield, pretty much every support, you know, there's so many in the game you can now counter and nullify. Now, if you really wanted to limit test on Qiyana, you could also build another item getting changed in 11.5, and that's Mura Mana, but this change is more suited for champions like Kayn, Corki, and Ezreal. So your auto attacks and on attacks will deal less damage, but your abilities will dish out more. And for ability-based AD champs that spam their skills later in a game, this could be meta changing. For example, Corki and Ezreal are already insane in the later stages of a game, and seeing as most games in lower levels of play and pro play go beyond the 30-minute mark, they could even become priority picks. Now, I said there was a mid laner getting nerfed in 11.5, and if you watched our video yesterday, you will know that this champion is Azir, who has a 45% win rate across the board. Like, how does that work? The worse a champion is, the more they need nerfing? Doesn't really make sense. Anyway, so your soldier damage is decreasing, and it might not look substantial, but it is. And I hate to say this because Azir is one of those champions that takes skill to master and play. 11.5 Azir is kind of doomed. This nerf means your early game is atrocious, and it was already weak. You won't be able to push the wave level 1 as effectively. In fact, your auto attacks will deal more damage than your W. That's how dire it is. And even if you proc Halo Blades, you will tickle the enemy champion because you're missing out on 30 damage. Now, if you play Azir, guys, the Jizz sends his condolences, and feel free to let out your emotions down below. Right, let's head to the jungle now, guys, and talk about 4 champions on the 11.5 hit list. So there are 2 turbo chem tank abusers getting nerfed, and these are Rammus and Uder. Now, the Rammus nerf, as you can see, is actually big. You're losing around 250 health at level 18, and though Rammus is, yes, an armadillo, you know armor is way more important, health is still an important stat. It's there in chem tank and Dead Man's Plate and Force of Nature, so losing a good chunk later in a game makes you more killable, especially for mages. Even in the early game, this nerf is severe enough to notice a difference. Now, for Uder, he's getting the same treatment but not as bad, and Ryder also nerfing your Phoenix stance's damage again after already nerfing it in 11.3. So this means your clear speed is slower, and this is the ability you max, so yes, this is impactful. You won't be as dominant as you are right now in the early stages of a game, and these nerfs to both champions will for sure decrease their 53 to 54% win rates. Now, the 2 champions getting buffed in the jungle, guys, well, one of them in particular is getting a massive helping hand. So for Trundle, guys, your Q's cooldown is going to be lower, and this means that your clear speed is better and your dueling is better. You see, in the new jungle, Trundle is struggling. Simple as that. Clearing raptors, wolves, and krugs, these multiple monster camps, if you like, is tough going. Well, now you can deal with them a lot easier and proc your passive more often, so you will be healthier. So this is a very nice buff. Now, the second buff is coming to Sejuani, and though this will be less impactful than the Trundle buff, it's still decent. So early in the game, you're not really going to notice it, but seeing as Sejuani scales well anyway being a tank, more raw damage in an ability is more than welcomed, and getting hit by a W is even more treacherous. Now, I want to touch on 3 more bot laners here, guys, who are getting some big changes, and we have a buff, a nerf, and an adjustment. So let's start with that, actually, the adjustment, and this is coming to Twitch, and we ain't talking TV. So as expected, Ryder nerfing your passive's AP ratio and increasing your ultimate's bonus AD and its duration. Now, the loss of passive AP might mean you need an extra auto attack to deal the same damage as you are now, but the extended ult duration means that Nash's death cap Twitch will still be good. The fact that AD Twitch will be better as well is great, because not every game does your team need the extra AP, so you can become that hyper AD carry instead. Now, the second bot laner getting changed is Kogmaw, who is receiving a buff. It's not worth throwing a party over, but still, this matters. More damage in your W, and remember you max this first, means you are stronger earlier and stronger later as well. Will this be enough to let Kogmaw compete in this meta? We'll have to see. And the third change coming in the bot lane is to an AP carry, and that's Seraphine. Now, this looks like a lot, and yeah, you'd be right, and what Ryder trying to do is shift you into supporting on Seraphine instead of carrying as a mid laner or bot laner. You see, your identity at the moment as Seraphine, guys, is abusing Moonstone Renewer, poking, and applying CC. Now, you're losing some of that poke because of the note nerf, and you're also losing some CC because your ultimate won't be up as much. In this patch at the moment, 11.4, she is still one of the strongest supports and bot laners. Next patch brings her down a tad. Now, we've got 4 more champion buffs and nerfs we have to discuss, guys, but before we do, it is the Jizz's last friendly reminder to head on over to our website when I stop talking, because you are guaranteed to improve and hard carry and win and climb. Join thousands of your fellow summoners and get amongst it. Links down below. So let's kick off the final chapter of this 11.5 video by talking about the final 2 champion nerfs. And these are to 2 supports who are, well, one of them is super strong, the the other is, yeah, just Riot being Riot. So Rell is one of these supports, guys, and these nerfs will certainly impact your win rate and success. Less base armor means you're easier to kill, especially in the early game, so there's a bit more counterplay risk to your playmaking, and the extra 2-second cooldown in your W is significant because this is your most important ability. You won't be able to create as many kill opportunities and are therefore less viable, but Rell will still be among the top supports, so don't fret. Now the other support getting nerfed is Shaco. He's such a highly contested pick right now, like how could Riot not nerf him? So your box's damage is decreasing, but will deal a little more damage to monsters, so your level 1 leash is insane. Now the lack of damage from your W will be felt a lot because your early laning phase is weaker as your boxes are less potent, and there are plenty of ways to counter Shaco's boxes anyway. It's just that, yeah, not many players know that control wards and sweepers exist. The Jester will still be playable though, just because heavy CC supports are flavor of the season. Right guys, we're on to the final champion buffs of 11.5, and these are again to 2 supports, but one of them will be even more viable in a solo lane. So the first buff is the Karma, and can you believe it? It's not a shield buff. So your Q's cooldown is down a second at all ranks, and this is, yes, good for Karma support because you can throw out more harass and pressure, but for mid and potentially top Karma, this is also good for the same reason. Now the other support champion getting a bit of love is Pike, and you might hope like Karma he will become more viable in the mid lane, but this actually nerfs it. And to be honest, and unfortunately, just removes it. So the grey health you get, you know, the grey health bar Pike gets, that's his passive, well, it's now going to scale off your lethality, but increases drastically when there are multiple enemy champions nearby. And what lane is there more than one enemy in? Bot lane, that's it. So mid Pike from 11.5 onwards, guys, is completely out of play, and it's not like he was good beforehand, so this kind of seems unwarranted. You'll have to let me know what you think Pike mains. So that's it for the 11.5 changes, guys. Some very interesting ones indeed. Before leaving, remember to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss tomorrow's upload. This has been Coach.